Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're still in lesson 4. We're going to look at parts 7 through 12. Once again, the instructions are right here for you. If you want to shrink that so you can look at the code a little bit easier, then you can just use that arrow right there. All right, so now that the grass is working, let's add a cloud to the sky. Unfortunately, it looks a little funny right now, so let's hit run. So as you notice, the height should not be that big, but we need to expand the width. So it says debug the program to make the cloud wider than it is tall, like in the image. Hint, you'll need to change 2 parameters. Which ones set your cloud's width and height? So let's take a look. So we have our background is our sky, our sun is up there, the grass is there, but now our cloud, here's the starting point, 150, 150, right here. The width of it is 100 to 2 of those blocks, and the height is 200. Well, we want the width to be wider, so why don't we make that 200 and make our height 100 and see what happens. There you go. Okay, just a basic, simple scene there, but again, here's your starting point. 150, 100 is where the center of that circle is, where a rectangle starts on the edge, and then your width and your height. All right, anytime you see this diamond shape, it's not an actual task, but it has information for you. So shapes and parameters, it just has some information about the ellipse and the rectangle. And the standard length and the standard width is always 50, 1 block. All right, so these last 3 circles means that we have 3 tasks to do. All right, so random numbers can be a little strange at first, but they really make things look more realistic, especially when we start to create our game. So it's important that you understand how they work. So rather than just setting the same X value each time, you can tell the computer to pick a random number, and you can tell it where to go, and it'll change each time. So it says, run the program several times to see how it works. All right, so we'll just keep hitting run. So there's the circle. Now it's over here. Now it's over here. All right, so it's moving a little bit, but just from side to side. All right, if you notice, the height hasn't changed, because if you look, the X value has a random number between 0 and 400. So that ball is going to show up anywhere between here and here. But the Y value is not changing, and the size is not changing. So it's going to be the same size. It's just going to be between there and there. So if you just keep hitting run, it moves from side to side, but not up and down. So it says change the numbers inside and run the code again a few times to see what changes. So if I just changed it to, say, 0, 200, that means that your X values, because it's in the X value spot, would only go between 0 and 200. So that ball every time would just stay on this side of the screen. It would move back and forth, but it would just stay on that side of the screen. So if you want something to happen, where it's only staying in one section, that's what we'll be doing. All right, if you wanted to go all over the page, then we're going to have to include something for the Y value. So let's take a look at the next task. All right, so here's the same sun from last time. Right now, only the X coordinate is random, but you can make the Y coordinate random too. So use the random number for the ellipse's Y parameter, so the circle is drawn in a random Y position too. So instead of having 200, we're going to go to math. We're going to drag the random number over and pull it over until you see that that's highlighted yellow, and drop it in. All right. Now, right now, it's only between 1 and 10. So if I hit run, it's just going to stay up at the very top. It's really not going to move much. So I'm going to make my random number for my Y's be between 0 and 400 as well. So that means the X can be anywhere from 0 to 400, so anywhere from side to side, And since the y is going to be between 0 and 400, it can be anywhere up and down. So when we hit run, it's going to show up at a random place anywhere on the page. Okay. Last one is a little bit more complicated. Not necessarily complicated, but might take a little bit longer. So it says, this program draws a very rare breed of a rainbow snake. So this is what we want our picture to look like. To make the snake draw differently every time, you'll need to use random numbers. So it says run the program several times to see how the starter code works. All right. So right now we only have the first three dots. But notice they stay pretty much in the same spot as far as your x value goes, but they're moving up and down, so your y value is changing. So let's take a look at the code. And we're going to add at least 3 new different colored circles. That means 3 or more. And then we're going to use the random number to make the rest of the snake's body move up and down like the first 3. All right. We'll worry about the challenge after. So right now, if you look, you got your background. The first circle is red. Then the second circle is in front of that just a bit, so it's orange. The third one's yellow, and that's in front of it as well, so that's down below, and that's yellow. And notice the x value is set for each of those. The only thing that's set to a random number is the y value, which is making that go up and down, so it's not moving from side to side. All right, so we want to add 3 more. Okay, so we're going to grab an ellipse. You're going to want to change the color if you want to. You can pull that over first. Now, if you want to go to show text, you could do it this way as well. If you wanted to, you could just hit enter, give yourself a space after each one. That's perfectly fine. Background, we're going to pull that over. Another ellipse. And it said that it wanted 3 of them at least. So I'm going to pull, I'll have to put the background up there first. Oh, not background. What am I doing? I'm all over the place. You put the fill. All right. Let's go back and fix that. Now, right here, I can't really fix it. So I like to work in the blocks, but just wanted to show you that. So the fill for the yellow one. All right. So I'm going to take out background and put in fill. All right. So maybe this one, I mean, you can copy the picture if you want. They did green, then blue, then purple. So I'm going to change this one to green. You can type it in or do the drop-down menu. Take that background out. I don't know what I was thinking. If you want blue next. And then purple. Doesn't pop up, so you can just type it in. Or any color for that matter. All right, but here's the thing. When we hit run right now, it's not going to look right. That's because the purple circle's at the very bottom. It's set to 200, 200 for the center, and it has a width and height of 400. So it's covering everything up. So we need to change its parameters. So if you look at the instructions, each one is spaced out about the same. Remember, the x value stays put, the y value changes. So let's look at the pattern that we have going. So 100, 140, 180, they're going up by 40. So the next one would be 220. And then after that, we would have 260. And then another 40 would put us up to 300. All right, now the thing is, look at the size of the circles here. If I hit run again, I mean, you've got the layering effect going on, but now you got to change the size. All right, so we're going to go back and change just the size to 50. So they're all the same. And you can just hit tab. Allows you to move through a little bit faster. All right, so if we hit reset and run, the green, blue, and purple are all staying the same, or the other ones are moving. So now we've got to get that random number in there. Notice they're all using the same random numbers for your y values because they want it to kind of stay looking like a snake in that same location. So we'll go to math. We're going to pull this down into the y parameter. And I'm going to do the same thing with this. So it's going to be a random y value between 190 and 210. Again, I'm going to just use my tab button to move a little bit faster through there. Oop, not 1900, 210. All right, hit run, and you should be good to go. All right, now there was one more thing on here. It says, can you make the size of some of the circles random too? Absolutely. The size is going to depend on these values here. So you could add a random number to either of those. So maybe you just want to mess with the size of, the very last one. So you could you don't want to just do any random number, but you could say, a random number between maybe 20 and 50 for both of those. And we'll see what happens. Now the problem is, since you're changing the x and the y, the width and the height is going to be a random number. They're not going to be the same random number, but that's okay. So it won't always look like a circle. So it's kind of funny looking, but you can mess with the size if you want to. We'll talk about later in the unit about how you can change both at the same time so it still looks like a circle. But for now, we'll just stick with the random number. All right, again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. This diamond, again, is going to show you just some of the things we talked about. Talks about the random number for your x, moves from side to side. Random number for both is going to put it anywhere on the screen. Okay, so it all depends on what you want to move and how you want to move it. All right, next up will be some help with lesson 5. Good luck, and again, stop by the math lab with questions.